Cristian Romero?
Not so great with Romero. Had a scan the other day, so he's got a hamstring strain. So we're looking at probably 4 weeks, 5 weeks for him. Everyone else from the weekend, from the last game, it was a pretty demanding physically, in terms of the numbers we generated that day. Both us and Everton, it was quite extraordinary. So fair to say the boys were a bit fatigued, but I had a couple of easier days, so everyone else should be okay.
How disappointing is it to lose Cristian for that long? And I suppose you've talked about January and the need for a centre back. Does that accelerate plans?
No, it doesn't change anything. It's just, like I said, disappointing to lose him for sure. We obviously missed him with the suspension, and now, we just got him back and kind of steady things up. But obviously, with him missing again for quite a chunk of time, but it doesn't change really. You can't accelerate time, mate. It's still December. January 1st stays January the 1st, irrespective of our situation. So the plans and the planning are still in sort of the same shape.
Finally for me.
Managed to free himself up, and we're now seeing the results of that on the pitch.
Yeah, like I said, I think, I've said a few times, I mean, they're human beings, and, when you don't feel 100% in yourself, whether that's physically or mentally, it's going to affect performance. And not that everything's, rosy in his life now. I'm sure he's still got issues in there, but in terms of, especially the physical side of it, he's, the kind of, the operation recovery he had from it, he came back to training, you could tell he just felt a lot better about himself in terms of the way he was moving, the way he was training, and he was a lot freer in his movements. And I think that's allowed him to go into games now with more confidence, more self-belief about, his body more than anything else. And, sometimes that's all it takes. There's no doubt he's a talented player. He's scored plenty of goals in the Premier League. He's playing for his country. So, but at the same time, like I said, they're human beings, and sometimes when things aren't, right, it affects performance and it affects their output.
Just a couple on Brighton that are difficult to play against.
Yeah, no, their football's fantastic, and I think they probably do things a little bit differently to everyone else. I think, look, they're a very well-run club. They have been for quite a while. You could see, even under Graham, that they were making progress as a football club, and then Roberto's obviously come in, and he's always done sort of things fairly unique in his whole career, and he's brought that to the Premier League, and you got to respect that, because, as we know, this is probably the toughest league competition in the world, and it can be easy to shy away from doing anything that's too different. But he's that's I don't know the man. I've never met him, but you can tell that he's pretty determined to do things his own way, and they do provide a different challenge from a lot of other clubs in the way they play, the way they keep the ball, the way they build up, the way they press. And it's great, because that's what you kind of want to be in these competitions, to get challenged in those kinds of ways. And there's a lot to admire about the way both the football club and Roberto and his players have gone about it.
With that Romero news, what's the kind of latest with Mickey van der Ven and his return? That I think he was at the darts a couple of weeks ago and said he might be back in 2 weeks to some fans. So I don't know how accurate that is. He was at Ali Pali for the World Darts.
The darts, okay, all right. Jeez, I think I've said before, I wouldn't be taking players' sort of views on kind of their recovery process. Look, he's getting closer. We'll see him sometime in January. I don't think Burnley, but Man United on the 14th. I think potentially, but again, I don't look at comeback dates until I see him training with us, and he hasn't been part of the group. He's not due to be part of the group this week. We'll see how he's going by the end of the week. So once they start training with the group, then we can start thinking about when they'll be available. He's at the tail end of it for sure. So like I said, at some point, middle of January, definitely we'd think he'd be available. But again, how we use him then is going to be, after such a long absence, it's going to be depending on sort of where we feel he's at.
And obviously losing Romero's to the team.
Well, we've been in that sort of state for quite a while now. We've just had to throw people in. Ultimately, we as much as you'd like to sort of bed guys in, but the reality is we obviously weren't in Europe, so we didn't have games to give games to these guys. So, and through a needs sort of basis, we've just had to throw them in. And to be fair, the majority have done super well for us. Guys like Emerson, like I said, Eric came in. Benny now I played a few games but hadn't played a lot myself. So Gil, I could go through quite a few that we're kind of throwing in fairly cold. And there's always that possibility that they could break down, but we've got no other choice.